Chapter 19 of Married Thrice to Salted Fish. Chang Yang became a frequent visitor of Nananhao Mansion. Every 3 days, he would go to Xingdai Pavilion to examine Lu Chosong's pulse. Afterwards, he would go to the Blue Wind Pavilion to stay for a bit, occasionally bringing some small gifts for Lin Qingyu. It was a joy to be able to see his Shishong so often. It was just that every time they met, Shishong would have young Master Hao beside him. Young Master Hao looked as though he had really hit it off with him, looking more thrilled to see him than his Shishong was, as though he was his Shishong. To say nothing of telling Lin Qingyu his plan, he couldn't even get the opportunity to speak with Lin Qingyu alone. On this day, before Chang Yang came to the Nananhao mansion, he first went to the most popular pastry shop in the capital, queued up for half an hour, and bought 2 boxes of plum cakes that his Shishang loved. He had just stepped through the door of the Blue Wind Pavilion, food box in hand, when he heard the clucking of chickens mixed with Lu Wancheng's hearty laughter. Little Shiri is here again. You could just bring yourself. There is no need to bring gifts. Come in, come in. Before Chang Yang could see the scene in the courtyard clearly, a figure covered in a riot of color flew in front of his face. When he came back to his senses, a feather flopped down from the air and landed on his head. With the chicken feather on his hair, he was like spitting image of a filial son by the roadside, selling himself as a slave to bury his father. Chang Yang once again froze. Young Master Hao, this is. There was a smile at the corner of Lu Wancheng's lips. Cockfighting. It was only then that Chang Yang saw clearly that what had flown past his eyes just now was a rooster that had lost a half of its feathers, looking ragged and exhausted. That flight should have been its last stubborn struggle. After that flight, it fell to the ground, gasping its final breaths. And the other rooster, the culprit, stood proudly at Lu Wancheng's feet, confidently shaking its little rooster head. Oh, see the euphemism, like he's trying to, you wanna fight? I'm gonna fight and I'm gonna win. Oh, it's so funny, he's so pretty. Okay. Looking at the chicken feathers littering the ground, Chanya couldn't help but feel distressed. Heaven has no eyes. How could they allow his Shishang, this immortal-like existence, to marry this spoiled fop whose actions were a disgrace to his good looks? Lu Wancheng's excessive impropriety strengthened his determination to rescue his Shishang from this abject misery. Greetings to young Master Hao. Where is my Shishang? He found me too noisy, so he went out to relax. He should be back any time now. Lu Wancheng looked at the door and smiled. Oh, speak of Kakao, and he will be here. Lin Qingyu had taken Huan Tong to the garden to bury a few pots of medicinal materials under a tree. When he came back to see the lively scene at the Blue Wind Pavilion, a vein on his forehead twitched. He blamed the medicine he formulated for Lu Wancheng for being too effective. With the weather becoming warmer every day, it gave Lu Wancheng the energy to seek out a life of dissipation at home, throwing the entire Blue Wind Pavilion into turmoil, with chickens flying and dogs jumping. Lu Wancheng welcomed Lin Qingyu. Meeting his icy gaze, he said with a smile, Qingyu came back at just the right time. Your little Shiri is here. Shisong. Lin Qingyu looked up at Chang Yang's head. What are you doing with that chicken feather in your hair? Lu Wancheng turned his face away and gave an impolite Chang Yang was extremely embarrassed. He quickly took off the chicken feather from his head and said, shamefaced, Shisong, I bought you 2 boxes of plum cake. Try them later. Lin Chingyu nodded. Thank you so much. Chingyu, you're late. Lu Wancheng leaned over and picked up the cock that had won many victories for him. You didn't get to appreciate my great Babe's heroic posture in combat. And I have no wish to appreciate it, Lin Chingyu said indifferently. If you have had enough fun, ask someone to clean up the yard. This mess is unbearable, and you're not even embarrassed to let outsiders see it. Lin Chingyu caught sight of the rooster in Lu Wancheng's arm from out of the corner of his eyes. The topic of conversation changed again. Only this chicken looks a bit familiar. Lu Wancheng. Huh? You recognize it? It seems like I do. Lin Chingyu thought for a while. It looks like the rooster that took your place when we got married. Lu Wancheng said in surprise. You remember even this? I have a highly retentive memory. Dot dot dot. Lu Wancheng looked down at the rooster in his arms. His expression looked quite complicated. Changyang also turned a look. In his eyes was something like envy. Lu Wancheng handed the rooster to Han Tong and instructed, Go and find out if this one is the rooster that worshipped with Chingyu. As Changyang had expected, today the three of them were gathered together once again, and he couldn't find the opportunity to speak with Lin Chingyu alone. For Lin Chingyu, he was a male outsider, and it was inconvenient to stay for a long time. After exchanging a few words, he must take his leave. Time was running out, and he couldn't talk about his plan with his Shishang. So he settled for the next best thing and told interesting anecdotes of their travels with their master, such as when they went boating on the Jiangnan waterways, traveled across the Shu countryside, sampling genuine peasant fare. One winter, they were forced to spend the night in a ruined temple because they did a last-minute rescue of an injured hunter, which delayed their journey. In the dead of winter, with the wind biting cold, they, their master, another fellow senior disciple, and an accompanying page huddled around the fire, closing in for warmth. Their master, feeling so sorry for them, took off his coat to cover them. Changyang observed Lu Wancheng's expression as he said all this. But no matter what he said, Lu Wancheng always looked very interested. He asked, urging him on, Then what happened? For real? Ah, people. Sigh, this is life. See, this Shiri is trying to stir trouble and ignite jealousy in our Lu Wancheng. But you know what? Lu Wancheng has seen all of you guys, so he knows that you are no, opponent to him. So, shoo. Lin Chingyu couldn't stand it anymore and interrupted Changyang. How is Lu Shaosong's condition? Changyang said, Third young master Lu's illness is almost healed, but the second young lady wishes for him to be brought back to full health. So she has me come to the mansion every 3 days just as before to examine the third young master Lu's pulse. Lin Chingyu and Lu Wancheng looked at each other, sharing a tacit understanding. He then said, It's getting late. Shiri should head back. Changyang was quite unwilling. Then I will come see Shishang another day. After Changyang left, Lin Chingyu said, Lu Nian Tao knows about my relationship with Changyang, and she still asks him to diagnose and treat Lu Shaosong. There must be a trick. Lu Wancheng opened the food box Changyang has given. She probably wants to use your shiri to do something. Lin Chingyu thought about possible actions Lu Nian Tao might take. He saw a certain someone minding his own business, steeping tea. He couldn't help narrowing his eyes and said, You certainly enjoy eating the cakes my shiri gives me. Don't be stingy, Qingyu. Lu Wancheng took a small bite of the plum cake, pairing it with tea. A smile appeared at the corners of his lips. Before the treats all those men and women gave me, I shared with my brothers. A good Xiangdi shares his blessings. Lin Qingyu asked, "What do you mean, all those men and women?" Lu Wancheng raised his eyebrows. "Why, you're allowed to have schoolmates, but I'm not?" Lin Qingyu said bluntly, "You have been raised in the inner courtyard since you were a child. Reading and writing, they were all taught to you by private teachers. Where would you have classmates? And even if you had, where would you have gotten female ones?" Lu Wancheng held back his smile. He was silent for a while and then said slowly, "Dr. Lin seems to have a lot of questions to ask me." "I didn't ask anything," Lin Qingyu said calmly. "And I also didn't ask young master Hao to tell me anything." Lu Wancheng prodded his cheek in his hand. It was difficult to tell by his tone whether what he was saying was true or not. "You can ask. Maybe I will answer you truthfully." Lin Qingyu paused. He said, "Forget it. I'm not interested." Rather than him clucking his tongue, pressing him for an answer, he hoped that Lu Wancheng would tell him on his own accord. Otherwise, even if he asked, Lu Wancheng might not tell the truth. Lu Wancheng looked at Lin Qingyu for a while, then changed the topic with a smile. "Qingyu, shall we have dinner together tonight? I asked the kitchen to stew the rooster." Lin Qingyu followed his lead and asked casually, "Which one?" "The one that performed the marriage ceremony with you." Lin Qingyu was baffled. "What did it do to offend you?" Lu Wancheng winked. "Looking at it puts me in a bad mood." Lin Qingyu sneered. "You kill the donkey as soon as it leaves the millstone. If you are so capable back then, why didn't you get up and perform the marriage ceremony with me yourself?" Lu Wancheng, "You're blaming me?" 3 days later, Changyang came to the Nananhao mansion as usual to examine Lu Chaosong's pulse. Lu Chaosong was extremely impatient. Not only did he keep urging the doctor to hurry the entire time, but when his examination was finished, he immediately left without even asking for the result. Lu Niantao said apologetically, "Third brother must have something urgent he needs to attend to. Dr. Chung, please forgive his rudeness." Chang Yang said, "Second young lady is being too polite. There is no longer any great obstruction in the third young master's body. He can already resume his normal work and rest." Lu Niantao smiled and nodded. "Thank you for your hard work. Since that is the case, we will no longer need to inconvenience Dr. Chang going to come here every 3 days." Chang Yang was stunned and said, feeling a sense of loss, "Then I shall be taking my leave." After Chang Yang left, Lu Niantao summoned her trusted maid and instructed her, "Follow Dr. Chang and make sure that you are not discovered. If he does anything out of the usual, report back immediately." Gaining entry into the compound of a wealthy family such as Nanan Hao was not an easy matter. Chang Yang was well aware that today might be his last chance. If he misses it, he didn't know how long he would have to wait. Chang Yang considered it over and then made up his mind. He wrote a note with the pen and paper he carried with him. Just as he was worrying how he was going to get the note to Lin Qingyu, he saw Huan Tong coming from the direction of the garden with 2 medicine jars in his arms. Without any hesitation, he blocked his path. Lin Qingyu had brought Huan Tong with him during his travels, so Huan Tong and Chang Yang were quite familiar with each other. Huan Tong accepted Chang Yang's note and said, "Don't worry, Chang Gongzi. I will definitely deliver this. Chang Yang warned, don't let anyone else know about this, especially young Master Hao. Huan Tong hesitated but agreed that, all right. When Huan Tong returned to the Blue Wind Pavilion, Lin Qingyu and Lu Wancheng were playing chess against each other by the window. Lu Wancheng had already lost 7 games in a row and was being regarded with disdain by Lin Qingyu, saying that the chickens were better than him. Lu Wancheng pressed down a chess piece and said, I learned only a little bit when I was a kid. Being able to play like this is already pretty good, okay? Lin Qingyu sneered. How very humble of you. The two of them won't be done for quite some time, and Chen Yang seemed to be in a rush. Huan Tong leaned close to Lin Qingyu's ear and whispered quietly, Master, I have something to tell you. Lin Qingyu frowned and moved away. If you have something to say, just say it directly. Huan Tong glanced at Lu Wancheng and said, feeling awkward, but say it. He and Lu Wancheng were already tied to the same boat. There was nothing about the Nananhao mansion that couldn't be said in front of Lu Wancheng. Since the young master said so, Huan Tong said aloud, Chang Gongzi asked me to give something to young master, and he said that young master Hao must not find out about it. Lin Qingyu, ... Lu Wancheng threw the chess piece on the board and said slowly, Okay, now I'm a little angry. Lol, oh my gosh, he's getting jealous. I mean, technically not jealous per se. It's more like, yeah, how dare you put your moves on my wife, huh? Putting up an act in front of him, he could still regard as watching some sort of show. But getting up to petty tricks in private and paying no regard to marital ethics was crossing the line. Lin Qingyu asked, What is it? Huan Tong took out the note and Lin Qingyu opened it in front of Lu Wancheng. Only 6 words were written on it. Meet me in the back garden. The willow sways beneath the moon and lovers meet at nightfall. Lu Wancheng recited this line of poem deliberately enigmatic. Will Dr. Lin be accepting his Shidi's invitation? How very curious. I'm looking forward to it. Lin Qingyu had a good guess as to the purpose behind Chang Yang's private meeting with him. It was still probably about taking him out of the Hao mansion. He muttered, Shidi's every word and deed within the mansion must be within the control of Lu Niantao and the others. I think I already know Lu Niantao's intentions. You only found out now? Lu Wancheng laughed. Everyone can see your Shidi's blind affections towards you. You can't blame them for trying to use it to make trouble. Lin Qingyu was displeased. Can you not speak properly? Lu Wancheng raised his voice. I can't. Someone's about to fucking undermine my foundation and you think I can still speak properly? Didn't we make a bond as sworn brothers? Aren't we good brothers, partaking food together? What undermining foundation are you talking about? Lu Wancheng was left speechless by his retort. After he calmed down, he suddenly realized that what Lin Qingyu said made sense. How could a good brother possibly put a green hat on you? As long as he treated his wife as a brother, a green hat would never grace his head. Lu Wancheng lay back on the chair and said lazily, You're right, forget I said anything. Lin Qingyu gave a sarcastic smile and said to Huan Tong, Go and reply to Chen Yang. Have him leave the Hao mansion. He mustn't come back again. Wait, Lu Wancheng's eyes were dark, as though some evil tricks were brewing within. He saw him raise the corner of his lips with a wicked smile. He said, My good brother, I think you should still go and meet with your Shidi. Lin Qingyu raised his eyebrows. What's your idea? Ooh, scheming husbands. I like that about this pair so much. In other stories, it's usually one person who is like overly smart and the other person is just like, super ethical. But here, both of them are scheming and I love it.